content, I'm the Council's Business Improvement Manager, and since joining local government 10 years ago, I've worked with a range of services and communities across Argyll and Bute. I've helped deliver different projects, programmes, but most importantly, I can help my organisation, the Council, to help us do things differently. So I suppose it wasn't that surprising that when the Council made a commitment to look to support refugee resettlement through the Syrian programme, that I was kind of asked to head that up. It's a fairly high-profile programme. It's a very complex and comprehensive programme of support. I kind of talk the language of the public sector here. We do what we call person-centred model of care. We focus our services and support on the needs of the families that they bring in. And that's comprehensive across a range of council services, and that changes as refugees become more integrated into the community and their needs, ambitions and aspirations to the future change. We've got a huge number of partner agencies working with us. We have the third sector working with us. And most importantly, I think, and for here, right from the outset, we have worked with volunteers. We had a kind of outpouring of support for what we were doing. That was echoed across Scotland and the wider UK. For us, and we talked earlier on today about the motivation people to volunteer, I think there was that feeling of helplessness of seeing the atrocities of the war in Syria, what that meant for refugees, of families, children, individuals trying to cross the Mediterranean. For goodness sake, we'll never forget that image of the baby, lying dead on the beach. There was a frustration, a helplessness, and a real kind of desire when it was announced that the UK would be opening its doors to welcoming refugees under the auspices of the Home Office programme, and we would be doing that here in Argyll and Bute, of a willingness to support. We quickly announced that was Bute. For us, that's what it meant for us initially, and we had a huge amount of support. We, as I say, the volunteers from the outset have been part of our programme, and they have been absolutely successful or instrumental to the successful integration of the Syrian families. They've helped us with befriending, they've helped with learning language, they've helped share the cultures. They've actually done so much. It's just a part and parcel of the programme. But now, as families have been here longer and we're looking to move towards different employment opportunities, we've actively gone to seek out and promote volunteering opportunities for the refugees themselves. As I say, primarily it's about route into employment, but of course volunteering with this group offers so much more. It's about integration, it's about language development, it's about developing new skills, it's about taking transferable skills and developing them. But really interesting and high on the motivation of our Syrian families to do this is the opportunity to give back to the community themselves. So with that experience of volunteering, I was asked with a number of my colleagues to attend a workshop that took place on the 7th of March. It was myself and many managers from across the council, both our frontline services and our support services, and it was facilitated very, very ably by George and Katrina. Now, the aim of the workshop is to use an appreciative inquiry approach to explore how we would help to co-design our volunteering participation action research project, building on our own experiences, and the Council's agenda to increase volunteer participation and to give consideration of how services could orientate themselves to do this. I think we do have a bit of work to do to make sure that the language that we speak and we use is attractable to everybody. That's a bit of a mouthful. But here's kind of what we did. So at that workshop, we were encouraged to, and over the course of the morning, to discuss the best environments for supporting managers with a volunteer engagement role, and possibly, I suppose, to dream a little about what might be, to create a shared vision for our future. We noted, as we've spoken about today, that success happens when we have that shared agenda, that volunteers and employees are working to the same vision, mission and values, and I would absolutely echo that from the work I've been involved in Bute. We ensure there's good support and resources in place. We absolutely acknowledge as Council's resource implications for this. For volunteering programmes to be successful, they need management input. And we we see within the council where there's a big investment in staff time to volunteering, such as our Leisure and Library Trust in Argyll, there's a big return. They have over 850 volunteers. But what we also discovered through the course of the morning at the workshop was the average professional time given by participants to promoting and managing volunteers was about 5% of their time. And that takes us kind of neatly onto the next bullet point here, which is about learning from others. We've got excellent practice in this organisation. There's lots of volunteers that work on the Active Schools scheme. The Duke of Edinburgh scheme is another one that is well established and works well with volunteers who are lending, supporting and delivering those programmes. We want to increase the diversity in volunteer participation. I think that's really important. And we need to move, one of the groups actually made this point earlier on one of the tables, we need to move away from tasks which are about inviting people in. We need to emphasise on developing resources that can accept our community's offers to help. And even that, when help isn't required, we also recognise the importance of well-being and for those being involved having worth. This is the public sector, so we need to manage risks but without becoming risk-averse. And we need to remove kind of fear factor. Clell's talked about this from staff and managers about volunteering, and we definitely need to talk about stop any talk about job replacement. We need to make it easier for young people to be involved across the board. And I think finally, the one that's always a challenge for the public sector, we need to try and reduce the dominant mindset about bureaucracy, recruitment to formal roles, etc. So our discussions led on to our action research elements, and that's them there on the screen. They're about building on good current volunteer practice, about creating a shared agenda across all middle managers, and what we call a learning circle approach to data and practice. We need to build a culture within our own organisation with authorisation from senior leadership to act on the evidence for change. We need to evaluate, we always need to evaluate, and determine if the mindset is shifting. We need to enhance professional roles and well-being. We manage to manage risks with proportionate approaches to safeguarding. And we need to find ways of giving recognition of the impacts and contributions to outcomes, and that's fairly evident from the films that we've just watched. So, through these discussions, we were collectively able to reach agreement on the proposition for Argyll and Bute. And this is that we acknowledge the value that volunteers bring to our services across the council, and we want to enhance them. We know, we've spoken about it earlier, this is a significant time of local government reform and the budget challenges. But in order to do this, we acknowledge that we need to create a culture that enables and empowers staff, which in turn enables and empowers our citizens, our communities, in shared responsibilities for achieving shared goals. It's partnership working. We're actually very, very good at it here. The partnership extends to the volunteers. And this links onto something we're developing within the council, which is about changing the relationship with our communities. This is a much wider piece of work. It links into the Scottish Government's local governance review, and over the summer, Cleland and his colleagues will be going out into our communities to have a discussion with them about that. So this links into that wider piece of work. We want, as an organisation, to create a shared passion between public servants and our communities, our citizens, for having positive impacts on individual and community life, and breaking down on them and us negativity. And I think some of the tables have spoken about that as well. We did go as far as to think of the two areas of the council, the two services that the council deliver, where we would like to try and target this first, and that's around health and social care, which the films talked about the work that something they do, and our community services part of the council as well. We felt that would be somewhere where we could really do some good work together. So the detailed proposition is developed and supported by middle managers across the council. I'm one of our middle managers, third-tier managers, they're sometimes known as well. We willingly attended a workshop. We weren't made to attend. It's something that we all had a passion and different levels of knowledge and experience, and we want to be able to tap into that. But we acknowledge that we need to provide training and capacity building for volunteer leadership, that maybe, you know, in time our job descriptions should change to include leadership for volunteer participation. There is the expertise, and we mustn't absolutely forget that, from the Improvement Service, from Volunteer Scotland, from the TSI and others. We must tap into that. And because Argyll and Bute is such a challenging area in relation to our geography, we as a council embrace technology a lot, and I think we use that in turn when appropriate to work with volunteers. We've talked about trade unions. We involve them from the outset. And we make sure that the proof of concept, the approach we're taking, is the right one through evaluation. So, very simply, our next steps for us, and Clelland has made this very, very clear to discussions with me and my colleagues, is that we need to make this happen. We just need to do this. We can't not, we don't want to not. It's something we've absolutely committed to doing. So, thank you very much for listening. I don't think we were intending any questions, but I'm facilitating one of the workshops and around for those.